Hey HBs, you're listening to Heaving Bosom's new segment, Ask a Badass, where we spotlight you. We want to hear from romance readers to highlight what a wonderful, diverse, deep fandom romance has. If you'd like to be featured, connect with Natalie on the cult or email askabadasspod@gmail.com. There's a handy Google form. And make sure to tune in on Monday, November 11th for our Veterans Day episode. We're covering Suzanne Brockmann's Prince Joe, all about a dancing media consultant and a Navy SEAL who is the personification of a Swiss Army knife with abs. And now it's time for Ask a Badass with Alie S., human resources guru and an embodiment of the exclamation point. Here we go. Hey, Alie.
Hey, Nat.
I'm so excited to talk to you. Before we started recording, Alie and I were like, yeah, it's weird. We've only met virtually once and then in person once, and it feels like we're best friends. But
Totally.
I think that's just how you are, Alie.
I actually think that's how you are. And I think together magic has happened.
Obviously. So guys, this is the Ask a Badass podcast. My guest today is Alie S., and she is a longtime HB.
Yeah.
Or longtime listener, first time caller. Is that how it used to go? Is that what it was?
That's right. That's right. That's me.
Longtime HB. And you may recognize her from such popular things as insane positivity on the cult and aggressive support of all of her friends.
That tracks, yeah.
Please write in to askabadasspod@gmail.com if you can definitely verify that that's to be true. Alie, any quick tidbits that our listeners, since there's got to be more than one, should know about?
No, I have a definite overuse the exclamation point. So that's something you can always expect from me.
The other day, I sent a bossy pants email to somebody who was messing up their job.
Oh, yeah.
And I did not use one exclamation point. And I had somebody proofread it to make sure I wasn't swearing at them. And they were like, Natalie, I can tell how mad you are based on this email because there is not one exclamation point. I read my daughter Ruby has a new teacher, and I sent her an email about notebooks or something dumb, and I realized that there was 6 exclamation points in a 2-sentence email, and I was like, well, at least she's getting the full experience.
That's right. I do exclamation point checks to be like, limit it to 2 or 3 for a work email. I'll scroll back. Which ones you really want to punctuate here? With the exclamation point.
Which ones are necessary?
Because bye doesn't need to be every time.
I know. And probably I don't need 4 at the end of a sentence. I mean, but maybe I do. I don't know. No limits. No limits.
That's
right. So are you ready to jump right into it?
Yeah,
Let's get
totally.
down to the business.
Cool.
Okay, great. So let's start with the big question.
Yeah.
How long have you been reading romance? I guess how long is not a good how, when, why, how.
Yeah.
Tell me everything.
Yeah. So probably since I want to say it was around 13, 14. It could have even been earlier. But Becky is the Becky that we know and love, a friend of both of ours. When we've known each other since we were 6 or 7, and she is a much older sister, and her sister would get the goods and hand off all these Harlequin romances. And we would go to the beach with Becky's mom or my mom or whatever, and we would just lie there all day and trade off these romance books. And that whole concept of like a happily ever after, for me was just, oh my gosh, it just became like the thing where it didn't matter if it was a TV show, if it was a magazine article, whatever it was like, wait, are these two going to fall in love? Yeah. And I became obsessed with it. And I remember one day probably not long after, probably when I was like 14 or 15, I was perusing my mom's bookshelf and I found a hardcover copy of a Kathleen E. Woodowitz book. And she was like an old-timey like bodice ripper. I'd be super curious to read it now because I feel like it would definitely not hold up. But back in the day,
Yep.
it was called Rose in Winter, I think. And I just remember the one scene being like on a ship, and he was super grumpy, and she was super indignant that her father had married her off or something like that. And he busts down to the captain's quarters, and she's in there, and it was delightful. So, and that was kind of it for me. That was just, I thought, every book that I read after that, it would be a slog for me if it didn't have some level of romance in it.
Yeah. I mean, and really, do you read stuff in real life now that's not romance?
I mean, I do. And I try to challenge myself to do that every once in a while, because otherwise I feel like I'm like that episode on Friends where Joey and Chandler have free porn and they're like, oh my God, this is too much porn. Sometimes I'm like, okay, this is too much romance and I got to walk it back. And, but yeah, like I'll read, certainly like general fiction. I actually enjoy like a rom-com book or a chick lit. I don't like that phrase, but like, I mean that idea. But even that, I find what I'm drawn to always has that connection, whether if it's not romantic, happily ever after, there's some level of connection. Like if you think about the Shopaholic books and stuff, my favorite relationship in the Shopaholic books was actually her and her best friend.
Or give me like a grandma-granddaughter relationship, or like even like a person and their dog. Like I will accept chemistry in any form that it comes in. But like if you were going to recommend a book to me, never tell me that it's a chick lit book, because I will absolutely not read it. Just don't tell me. Just be like, this is a really good book. And I'd be like, okay, I don't need to know that's chick lit.
Because it totally, and even the categorization of it, I find overwhelming, where I'm like, what makes this chick lit? Like, I don't get it.
I know that this isn't the case, but it feels anti-feminist to me.
It does. It does. And it's always grouped in with like beach reads and like burner books, fluffy things. And I'm kind of like, well, hold on, that's not necessarily what this is. And but I find if you can find those books that has some, really great chemistry, whether I always like those books where she goes back to her hometown, she lives with her crazy aunt or whatever the thing is. And I think I always find that relationship really compelling.
And because of all of this romance, you found Heaving Bosoms.
Totally. I was not much of I was just super late to the podcast train. I heard so late, and people would
and I
talk
think I was
about
like, I don't need
like,
to listen to those. Okay, they all sound like boring NPR things.
I know. People would say like my favorite murder or whatever the ones were, and I was like, yeah, cool. I don't know, like radio, I guess. It just didn't track for me. And then I was actually at a different, like the same company I've been with for a long time, but a different role, and it had a really long commute, a train ride. It had office hours in kind of like a cubicle. It was just a different role that I was used to. And Becky was like my best friend. Becky was hammering, texting me all these things about, you got to listen to this podcast, not podcast. You got to get into this. And she kept coming back to Heaving Bosoms. And I want to say Heaving Bosoms started, about 2 years ago, right? Like I think
they're coming up on the 2-year podversary.
Sure.
Let's say it together.
Exactly. So it was probably, let's say it kicked off in October or whatever. Then it was by like constant weekly text about the show until finally about mid-November. I was like, yeah, okay, I'll listen to it on the train.
Have you had the classic experience where somebody else has overheard you listening to the podcast?
Oh my gosh. I still get a kick out of it when my husband walks in, because it's, for whatever reason, he is always aghast, always taken aback, like, wait, what? And I just don't know why he's not used to it yet. But my favorite was Mastered by Her Mates, which is my all-time Hall of Fame episode. I think it's mine too. Ruby Dixon. If you have not read these books, they are so good. And I was never really into alien romance, and I now can't get out of it. It is so good. And but this podcast was a complete giggle fest the whole way. And it was like a sunny, I feel like it was like a spring day or like a really nice fall day last year. And I was driving and I had the windows down and I'm howling listening to this. And I pull up to a gas station, completely kind of forgetting where I'm at. And Aaron was in depth talking about the anal training box. And this woman was pumping gas beside the place that I pulled up, and her head whipped around so fast, she must have had whiplash. And she looked at me like horrified, and I was like, "Oh my God, good morning!" And like, I had to quickly roll my window out. It was crazy. It was so funny to me, but I laughed the rest of the way to work. But it was perfect. It was like anal training box.
Of course,
there's no getting out of that.
Yeah, I mean, there was enough sound bites from that episode that it could have been any part of it, but
oh my
the
God,
fact that
it was so good.
that it was that part is even better. So I made my husband listen to one of the Chuck Tingle episodes with me.
Have you listened to any other ones?
He has not listened to any other ones. It was just, here, jump right in with this episode. Well, I was in the middle. So I was in the middle of it and I had to pick him up to like go pick up our kids or something like that. I don't remember why. And I was like, I'm in process here. I can't turn this shit off. Yeah. This is solid gold. So you are taking this journey with me. And I think he was like, what? Who?
What? Why?
Yeah, I can't remember which one it was. I think it was one of the Patreon. I think it actually was it the restaurant was.
Oh.
What? I can't even remember what it was called. I can't even remember what it was called.
No.
It was a diner, wasn't it?
Yeah, yeah, that was a good one. Welcome. So he's in HB now, right?
I think I can't remember if he calls it my sex podcast or my weird internet friends or I can't. There's a series of like, oh, and now he'll be like, oh, are you talking to the cult?
I love that. Don't tell Jackie because we're real friends too.
We are real friends.
We're not just internet friends.
For those of you, sorry, Alie and I are just in our own world over here. So if you're listening to this, just catch up.
Sorry.
But Jackie, who you will hear in another episode, she has a vendetta against Becky's husband because he referred to us as internet friends, not real friends. And
not real friends.
Sorry, Scott. If you ever meet Jackie, I just don't know how it's going to go. I mean, it's 50-50 here. You have the opportunity to make a change. So it's up to you.
Right.
But back to you, Alie. So in general, like, is romance like a super big part of your life? Is like everyone know you are very into romance? Do people send you recs? What happens?
Yeah, I mean, in terms of reading, it's only in the last couple of years that I've really kind of gone tits out with romance to going to pull a melody here. But part of that is I actually work for a book company, and which is a really cool thing. It's a really beautiful place to work, but you get inundated with recommendations with it's not snobbery, like I don't mean it that way, but it's just kind of like this. This air about what's really hot and trending, I guess. And so that could be anything, when kind of those domestic thrillers started coming out, like Girl in the Window and different books like that. And when those became big, like everybody was reading those. And I was just like, I dig it. I love that you love it. It's just not my bag. I'm not going to read those because then I'm going to just imagine a girl in my window all the time. I don't know what that means.
I can't. I have too active of imagination for anything like that.
Yeah. I just can't. So it's but romance never bubbles up, or when it does, and I mean no disrespect to this author, but it's the wedding date, or it's and it's like pseudo romance, and you're kind of like, well, okay,
Yeah.
I mean, it's not.
I mean, I can respect just about anything as long as it's well written. You know what I mean? But there are so much good, so many good. So much good romance, so much well-written books that aren't getting any sort of, and I think a lot of it is because a lot of romance is self-published. You know what I mean? Or not a lot,
totally.
a good chunk.
But
Yeah.
a
I mean,
lot,
like a
yeah.
rising chunk of romance is self-published, I think. And that's me saying this as a person who doesn't really pay attention. I just feel like it's the truth.
But and there's this totally though, but there's also this funny edge around like the paperback version versus the trade version, which is a bigger, and it's got a like, so paperbacks are this like burner beach reads. They're the mysteries, they're the westerns, they're the romances. Yeah, but within that is like amazing content, amazing moments, amazing authors, and it doesn't matter if it's in a paperback, an ebook, or a trade book. There's these amazing books that people aren't diving into, and I think they get shooed away by maybe the 50 Shades of Grey. And again, I love how many people love that, and I actually have a few friends who read those and then came to me and were like, "Hey, I know you read romance. What else have you got?" And I said, "Well, take a seat because we're going to be here a while, and I'm going to ease you in, and it's always going to be starting with Christina Lauren and Beautiful Bastard, and then I'm going to draw you into the rest." But like, again, nothing against 50 Shades of Grey. It just wasn't my thing. And I thought, if you want great dialogue, if you want banter, if you want this amazing like focus on the human connection, well, I mean, that wasn't the book for it. And I just feel like there's so much more out there. So over the years, I've gotten a lot more confident in talking, just letting my freak flag fly, right? Like, this is what I read. It's not like what I read in addition to documentaries and biographies. And I read
100% don't read anything else. And well, and I came on so strong the other day because I like one of my cousins, who I'm like fairly close to, but, she posted like on her Instagram story or whatever, like, "Hey, I just ran out of romance novels to read and my wine's almost gone. Like, is this the worst day?" And I was like, "Excuse me, what have you been reading? And do you need some recommendations? And what do you like?" And I gave her like, it was like a stream of comments that was like 15 comments in 30 seconds. And I was like, afterwards, and I was like, "Okay, so I hope you like some of those." And I'm kind of afraid to see her at Christmas.
I know, I totally come on strong, and I get to the point where I start buying copies of Beautiful Bastard by Christina Lauren to have on hand so that I can thrust them in people's hands and be like, "No, I'm not kidding. I need you to read it and tell me what you think." It starts in chapter 1, the sex. So it's just like, I love that. And there's a woman at my work, and she's actually the category buyer for romance, and she just like, she lives in the world, and she got me onto Nalini Singh, and I love Nalini Singh, the Side Changeling books, and she got me into I'm forgetting the author now, but she has this series, and the men and the women are tattooed, and they work in like auto mechanics, but there's like one book is a threesome, one book
Excuse me, I'm going to need you to immediately remember who this author is.
I know,
Allie's going to find it for me, and then I'll post it in like, if I figure out how to do show notes, I'll post it in show notes.
It's these great relationships that aren't just like generic and homogenized in the same thing we see over and over. These beautiful relationships, and it was like the girls are pinup girls and curvy, and it's just like amazing, and it just goes deeper and deeper, right? And so for me, I mean, for how I read, of course, I love that idea, and to me, it's so much more. Of course, the sex is incredible, and yes, that's what I'm here for, absolutely, but the development and the human connection that you have in it, I think, is a beautiful thing. And for me, I love big. I love very large with the people in my life, whether it's friends, it's family, it's coworkers. I actually have, an incredible team, and a lot of times we're texting each other, or our boss is on vacation, and she'll text me and be like, "I love you, I miss you." And I'm like, "Yeah, I love you too. How's your vacation?" And it's these beautiful things that we mean, we say we mean. And I'm not a romantic person by nature. I'm like, I coin it like, I'm a bit of a werewolf. Like, I'm kind of standoffish and a little bit, I'm very intense and over like octopus arms around my friends. But in romantic love, I've got some ish that I'm working through.
Yeah.
And,
like we all do, right?
Helping with, right? Totally. And so because of certain insecurities and things that have come up in my life, that I'm not the biggest overtly romantic love kind of shower. But the person I've chosen to be my partner, and I chose for all the right reasons. He's loving and he's caring and he's a good partner. We were friends for a long time. There was just great connections there that spoke to a long lasting connection. He's also very romantic. So he shows his love all the time. And then gives me license to do that in the ways that I do. And so as I get more confident and work through some of the things that I've got going on, I've learned to show that in different ways.
Besides love, Alie, what are you passionate about?
So recently I got wind of this concept of trying something you suck at. So I do a lot of leadership sessions, and we talk about, I'm pretty sure it's Simon Sinek or somebody has talked about the idea of your comfort zone. So you've got a comfort zone, and then if you think of your comfort zone as like a little circle, and then around that is your stretch zone, a bigger circle that surrounds it. And then around your stretch zone is an even bigger circle, and that's your panic zone. And so in leadership sessions, what I train and talk about is, the idea that we don't learn in our comfort zone or our panic zone. Those aren't states that we learn in. We learn in our stretch zone. And I'm pretty sure this concept came from like Simon Sinek or someone, some really great leadership development
I believe
person.
you.
But thanks. It definitely wasn't me, but I talk about it a lot because I find it fascinating, because the idea of your stretch zone is that you're actually uncomfortable. It's okay to be uncomfortable and to be doing things that are new and there's a bit of a rub and you feel uncomfortable. It's not okay to feel panicked though. And we always talk about really great leadership, really great friendship, really great connections help pull you out of your panic zone and back into your stretch zone. And that's where you learn. And so I train that and I talk about that and I dig into that with leaders across the organization that I work for all the time. But I don't do it in my personal life. I stay firmly in my comfort zone. And so there's this yoga lady that I went to her studio for a little while, and then I'm on their mailing list now. And she sent this video out being like, try something that you're going to suck at and just do it just for the sake of it. And so I've been really excited about this concept lately. And, whether it is admittedly and always will be a terrible singer, but instead of when I'm in front of other people, just like nodding along or bouncing or humming, like I'll just go out and sing, because what the hell, and it's so fun, and why not? Or writing, like I don't have any, like writing is a skill that you work at, and I have never worked at it, so I'm no good at it, but I'm going to do it anyways because it's fun and I'll get better at it if I keep doing it. Or the idea that like jumping on a podcast, like with you, I would have always said no because I would have been too nervous. Right. But why the heck not? You can edit that shit out.
I mean, I don't really know, besides the sound of my dryer going off. I don't know what else could happen on this podcast. I'd be like, nah, I don't really want to hear that part. But yeah, I mean, it's just one of those things. Like, I think that Aaron and Mel have created this community of a place where people feel comfortable sharing stuff. I mean, some people have shared stuff on the cult before that I'm like, holy shit, man, that took balls to just be like, here's this ugly thing about myself that I'm trying to work on. And I know it's kind of ugly, but I'm sharing it with you because I want to improve it. You know what I mean? Like, and most, I'm not saying that that's like what's happening all the time. I'm just saying like, sometimes it's happened where I'm like, oh my gosh, like how brave. And I think that's why I've been able to do this. You know what I mean? Because it's like a good safety net. Like, probably there'll be some people that listen to it that are like, who the fuck is this? You know?
They won't.
What even is this? Why is her dryer going off in the back? And stuff like that. And I'm like, and that's kind of its own failure, but I'm also in a really good receptive place where people, can do it. And that's awesome that you have done that. Is there anything like, has there been any specific when you're trying new things that you've that are like earmarks for you or like milestones?
Yeah, like I think well, I mean, a big one for me was getting over the hump and the fear of actually going to therapy, which sounds I'm sure so benign to so many people, and I get that. But for me, I was in just a really anxious space for a long time, and had completely spun the idea of going to therapy out of control in my head. And it really was, participating on the cult, and listening to people advocate and promote that, how much it had helped them, and normalize it a little bit for me. I don't have a ton of that in my day-to-day life, the normalization of that, which is interesting. But that has helped a lot, and that's been a real game changer, for me. But then, I just started in January, and there's no going back. Like, it's just been the most incredible experience for me. Yeah. It's pretty amazing. It is pretty amazing what you can dig into, and the things that I just never thought were things. I was kind of like, well, why are we talking about that guy from that long ago? And she's like, actually, I want to dig in there. And I was like, okay, let's dig. And then when you dig, you're like,
there was an abscess.
There was an abscess that was really festering for a long time. And I mean, it's been great. Like, just things like that, or even something as simple as gardening, cooking. Like, I'm a very basic cooker. I love baking, but cooking, for whatever reason, the freedom of cooking, I love the preciseness of baking, the freedom of cooking. I'm like, oh my God.
There are no rules.
There are no rules. And meat, I'm always like, I'm so nervous about salmonella and whatever. I just got myself tripped out. So I kind of think, no, I'm going to try it, and it's going to be terrible. And my whole family's going to nod and smile, but we're going to keep trying, because that's all it is. And I think I find it's fun. It's can be overwhelming days. You kind of have to pick your days, but I love this concept of just, who cares if you suck at it? So you don't have to be a professional at everything.
No, and there's so many, the thing that I get, because I grew up in a family of, my mom is a very, she's very skilled, both cooker, not chef, but like, person who cooks, and then also baker. And so it felt like everything had to be like pretentious all the time. You know what I mean? Like it had to be like a fancy. And sometimes the best food is not fancy, and it's easy. And that's the best thing to kind of discover about cooking, is to be able to just do stuff and make it and have it be simple and have it taste good and still be easy. And I think that when you kind of get there with cooking, it's awesome. Changes your life a little bit.
And I love the confidence that it can come with it. Sometimes my brother is he's an analytical dude. He's an engineer. So he doesn't put a lot of flair into many things. And he's got this word that he calls, and I don't know if he got it from somewhere else. So for any listeners out there, this may not be his word, but it was new to me from him. And he calls it foop. And it's fucked up on purpose. And so he just calls it whatever meal he's making. If it looks a mess, he's like, foop for dinner. And I think that, I just thought it was a riot.
I thought it was going to be like some play on soup. So I was like already going there. I was like, what kind of soup? Okay.
It could be eggs.
Oh, absolutely.
It could be casserole, but he just calls it food.
Yep. That happens all the time here. It's like, well, this was supposed to be this. At least it tastes good. It looks like absolute pile of nonsense, but it tastes good. So I don't know if this is a word in Canada, but around here, there's a word called hamlagash. And that's basically like, it's exactly like whatever your brain made a picture of when you say hamlagash. Like that's whatever it is. And it could be a term to talk about like a food mess, or like a weird outfit, or like a big mess of a room. Like, oh, look at that hamlagash. Like, we better clean that up. Like, yeah, it's a perfect. And then like I'll make a weird like an everything food, where it's like it's pasta, but it's soup, but it's also meat. And my husband calls it a hamlagash. What's this hamlagash we're eating?
That's odd. I've learned so many great American words since the beginning of our friendship. I'm so pleased.
Do you want to hear some more?
Yeah, definitely.
This is straight out of Kankakee, which if you're from Illinois, it's not a lot of good things that come out of Kankakee. I was born there, so I hope that's at least one good thing. But it's a term, and maybe this is a Canada one too. It's cattywampus.
No, these are not.
Which is like words, askew, or like uneven, or something like that. It's all cattywampus.
I feel like yours are so much more endearing than ours, which is fucking the dog, right?
That fucking the dog one took me on a trip when we tried to figure out how that came to be and why. FYI, guys, there's no dogs injured during that during that idiom. I don't even know what you call it. It means being lazy. Let's get it clear right now. There's no dogs involved. I don't know what happened in Canada when this was created.
We don't ask a lot of questions. It is what it is. And I've learned it can be a Canadian thing, but I'm assuming I've heard it, I feel like, from some of the northern states as well. The idea of, instead of just saying yes, we'll say no, yeah, for sure. Or instead of saying no, we'll go, no.
Yeah. I think I think I've said like, yeah, for sure, but I don't think there's ever been a no. Like,
yeah, it happens all day long. Ever since I've noticed it. No, yeah, for sure.
What I have found out that I do is I say yes, but I'll say it 3 times, and I don't know I'm doing it. Oh. Yeah. Like, and it's
yeah.
I don't know, but someone said it. Like someone else that was nearby said it, and they were like, ugh, Natalie has influenced your life. And I was like, oh, really? Me? Yeah. I have one more mid-Illinois idiom for you. Ready? Okay, so if something like goes bad or you like stub your toe, you can say, Jeezy Pete's.
Oh, I love that. Oh, it's so cute. Cheesy Pete's. I'm going to bring it. Yeah. I'm bringing it to Canada.
And you can also use it in place of swear words if you have small children. So I, too, have started to say Jeezy Pete's in front of my kids.
Jeezy Pete's. I love it.
So anyway, there you go. Something to take home.
Thank you.
Anytime. So what are your current lady loves? I feel like we've talked about a few of them. Like a few lady, just definitely. General lady loves, but like, do you have any things that are go-tos for you?
One of my favorite things to do, I just did it earlier tonight actually, is when you make a tea or a hot drink and you take chocolate and then you put it in your mouth, but then
so it melts. Tea,
so then, the hot, really hot liquid. Sometimes you burn your tongue, but I feel like it's a good price to pay. And because the melted chocolate is divine. And it's not the same if you just let it melt in your mouth. It's not
I feel like I don't.
You have to let the hot water.
I feel like you're not the only one that's brought up tea and chocolate, and the idea of like the herbal flavor for me with the chocolate flavor. It's hard for me to picture it.
Just go with the peppermint tea.
Okay. So then you got the peppermint chocolate. Yeah, I would do that.
Yeah. Or you can do like in the fall. Sometimes there's like an orange rooibos. I don't know how to say that word.
That was the best I've heard it. I don't know if I've ever heard a real person say that. I've only read it.
I say I don't know how to, but really it's nice though. I'm just kidding. I just get one for it.
I feel like oolong is also one that I don't know if I've heard out loud many times.
There's a lot of words that I've only read, so it happens more often than I think people like to admit.
Okay. This lightning round is usually very slow. It's like a molasses round. But that's okay. There's no pressure.
Okay.
Okay. Are you an Aaron or a Melody? Yes.
Melody.
Absolutely, you're correct.
Yeah.
I already knew that. I was just going to answer it for you, but I thought that I'd go with the autonomy. And
is it super apparent? Because Becky says it's super
absolutely.
Apparent. Yeah, I love that. I would love to be an Aaron too.
No, oh my gosh, she won't care. Okay. Alie, more is more.
More is more. More is more. Definitely. That's what I point.
Just kidding. I don't know if more is actually more for you, but I feel like you love really big, and that's the same as how Melody is too. So, what is your Hogwarts house? Although I think I know the answer to this too.
Oh God, I wasn't gonna say this, but my secret shame is about to come out. I've never read Harry Potter. Geez. I know. I've only ever told Becky that, and now
you've told Becky and whoever else listens to this, so maybe 4 other people.
I know. I have never read it. Becky, I think, says that I'm the G one, the Gryffindor.
Yeah, I can see that. I was going to say Ravenclaw.
I don't know what that means.
Yeah.
Yeah?
You're like Lady in the Streets. freak in the sheets kind of
Oh, yeah.
situation, because I feel
Definitely.
like you have this really fancy job, and then you like alien romances.
The trash bag behind the scenes.
like I'm like wearing a t-shirt that says it all the time, so I don't, like it's never hidden. Like I am one of those people that you can see the weird coming before it's arrived, but not everyone's like that. It's an aura.
Oh no, I gotta pee.
Sorry.
You're not. You can't see the weird. You see the awesome for sure. That is so funny. Although I will say this, I did have somebody once when I started working at a bookstore many years ago. I had been working there for maybe like 3-4 months.
Is this the same company that you work for now?
It is, but I did like a small stint with them when I was just out of university, and then I left, went back for post-secondary education and all sorts of stuff, and then came back to them in a different capacity. But when I was like in the stores, there was a woman I worked with. Her name is Jay. She's lovely. But Jay looked at me. She says, "I feel like I need to tell you something." And I said, "What?" And she goes, "When you started, I worked with you the first day." I said, "Yeah." And she said, "I went home and I was on, I think it was like Messenger at the time, AIM. Or whatever the, AIM." Yeah. What was that other one with the that sound? Yeah. Was that AIM?
Is that a Canadian?
I don't know. There was another one. Maybe a Canadian one. Maybe it was just us at each other's windows going, ooh.
Making all sounds at you.
Hey, look at there, eh? Yeah, time to come out and play, eh? So anyway, she said to me, I was on, whatever Messenger, and another woman we worked with said, "Oh, did you meet the new person that started? What she liked?" And Jay said, I said to her, "She looks like the kind of girl who's never had an alcoholic drink in her entire life." And I was like, "Oh my God, is that the image I put off?" And she goes, "Yeah, but you're like a big weirdo." I'm like,
"You're right."
I totally am.
Accurate.
Accurate. I had no idea my first impression was, lady in the streets or a big old nerd.
Lady in the streets. I already think I know this answer as well, but who is your go-to author?
Yeah. Oh, Christina Lauren. But then also Alyssa Cole, Alicia Rai, Nalini Singh. Oh, so many. Yeah, but Christina Lauren.
Do you have like a favorite trope?
I do think enemies to lovers.
That's I think that's like a cult, very much a cult fave.
Yeah. And really, sadly, the more problematic, the more I am prone to like it, unfortunately.
I was talking with Melody the other day, and she was asking me what my go-to author is, and mine is Mariana Zapata, and like for reals. Yeah.
I knew that actually. And that's okay.
Yeah, exactly. Somebody has to read all those books. I mean, and it's me. And like I get it and I see it and I just don't give a shit at all.
Yeah. Right?
At all. Yeah.
And it's like in life, not at all. Like my real life husband is very like he's a cinnamon roll. He's a teddy bear. He is the sweetest, kindest. He is a feminist. He is like just very peaceful, peacemaking.
Is he sitting right next to you on the couch right now?
Yes.
He's had to sit silently, not sneezing this whole time. You
or
can't
breathing.
move. You're holding my hand.
Smiling at me, mouthing words of encouragement silently.
He's holding up signs like in Love Actually. To me, you're perfect.
It's like you're in my
house. Your webcam was on. Sorry. Just kidding. It wasn't.
That's awesome. And I'm not wearing a bra, so I hope not. He's. I think that's the thing that he's like, and he's wonderful. And that's what I would take. So there's something about a fictional character who's like very not that. But I'm like, let's give me more. Give me more.
I understand that feeling where you're like, I want the complete fantasy Like I don't want it to be like real life, you know, not fantasy like this is my ideal person, but like this is nothing like my real life because it's an escape. Like for me, books are definitely an escape. That's why I started reading more and more romance because I wanted to just kind of like that makes it sound like my life is not romantic. I needed to escape. No, but you want to read a different viewpoint. You want to read, you know what I mean? Like you need the break from what your real life is, and it doesn't have to be the opposite. It just has to be different.
That's it. Yep. Yeah. Totally.
So I'm terrible at this question. Maybe you'll be better. Who would play you in a movie?
I feel like anything I pick to me sounds like egotistical, so I have a hard time.
Literally, but I had a really, really hard time as well.
But I really love Kristen Bell, and I think that she can kind of do anything. So I like her.
Absolutely, I could see that working. Absolutely, it's done. Send the letters, everybody. If you can dispense one condiment from your belly button, what would it be?
Hot sauce.
Which kind? Like a really spicy, or an habanero, or like a.
Yeah, there's this one Caribbean. Oh, what's it? The name of it? I have it in my fridge right now. But there's this. It's a Caribbean one that's really, really good. I do love Frank's Red Hot though.
It's a totally different. It's like very. Is it horseradishy?
I like horseradish flavor. Anything spicy, I love. But it's got the with the Caribbean flavor one. It's got what are the yellowy like?
Scotch.
Not Cubano ones. Are those what are the really, really hot wee ones? They're like little fat round peppers. No? Maybe those. Yeah, those.
Look at that.
Those sound right.
I mean,
yeah,
we can
but
just
then
say
it's got a bit of garlic in it. Yeah, I'll send you a picture of it after we're done here. It's really good.
Now that we're talking about it, what's your favorite carb?
Oh, well, potato. And I tried to pick potato like when people ask me this because I get asked it actually more often than not. I know, which is weird, but I do like, I like French fries. I like chips. I like mashed potatoes. I like them all. I like potatoes.
Do you want to hear how I made potatoes tonight?
Oh, yes, please.
So I roasted a chicken and on the same sheet pan.
That's really good at that.
On the same sheet pan, I put halved of the little fingerling potatoes with salt and pepper and bouquet garni, which is like dill and thyme, French thyme and tarragon and a couple other things. And
the chicken fat.
Onions and like big chunks of onions and then whole garlic cloves and then a little olive oil. And then I roasted it for as long as the chicken was cooking and the juices went down into the potatoes and then they turned really brown and they were amazing. God. They were, I think, better than the chicken.
They're so good.
I have a couple more questions. Are you ready?
Yeah, I'm ready.
Actually, I think I only have one now that I look at my list. Bath meal or no bath meal?
Oh, bath meal. Yes.
Do you have a go-to?
No, I'll eat it all in the bath. I like doing like a little bit of a snack plate. So I like to make sure I have a Perrier and a tea because you never know. Sometimes the tea's too hot in the bath, but then sometimes you feel like tea. And then I like to have maybe a little bowl of some sort of candy, a small bowl of chips, maybe a little bowl of veggie sticks.
Can you give me like a time estimate on like how long we're here in the bathtub?
Oh, hour and a half minimum.
Really? Do you just keep refilling and making the water warmer?
Definitely.
Okay.
Yeah.
I've been dissecting. The more people I talk to, I've been like dissecting bath strategies. So like I'll probably be creating a manual after this, compiling everyone's ideas and snack suggestions.
Sometimes I can't have candles in the bath according to my husband anymore because the smoke that comes from a candle, what I didn't realize, even though it's smoke, it has left like black stains on my wall, which will wipe off. It's just tricky to do, so we haven't. Like, God, it'll
just
wipe off.
Just get a magic eraser, okay?
Like, Tyler's like, that's because you're in here for hours and the candles.
You're like, sorry, the door's locked. I can't hear you.
I know. He's a firefighter, so he's particularly concerned with the practice. So, yeah, I know. No, all day long I could stay in there.
I don't know how. I can't sit still for very long, and it just makes it very hard.
You're not a non-bather?
I am a non-bather. I've taken 2 baths maybe in like 5 years. And it's I usually am like in there for like 10 minutes and I'll read and I'll sit there. But then I'm like,
10 minutes? I have shits longer than 10 minutes. God.
Do you need me to
Come
send you the
on.
article about what happens if you sit on the toilet for too long?
Maybe, but what's going to happen?
Your butthole comes out.
Not
I
really.
can send it to you. I send it to my husband if he spends too long in there.
Oh, do you troll him while he's in there and just keep
absolutely,
sending
yes.
the same one?
Hi, it's been 20
2
minutes,
bookmarks.
okay?
That can't be true. Your butthole comes out, really?
I think so.
Oh, man.
I don't think it was fake news.
Did you just ruin poop for me? I think so. Come on.
Sorry.
It's like the only thing I had
Jeezy
left.
Pete's, Alie.
Jeezy Pete's.
It's the only thing I had left. But you can just pretend I can edit this out. You can edit it out of your brain. We didn't have to talk about it.
Oh, yeah. Because I won't be up till like 4 a.m. Googling
If
that
you want,
tonight.
I can send it to you. That way you can just like tell me whether or not it was real. I have one more really serious subject to talk about, and it's the size of your book pile at home.
Oh, oh no. Are you trolling me now because I sent you that picture?
I am.
I was like, oh God, how does she know? Oh wait, I sent her a picture of it.
Nothing is safe.
Nothing's safe. Oh, your memory. Oh, it's big. It's quite big. It's at least, my TBR pile is probably about 150 books.
These are just paperbacks, yes.
Those are just the paperbacks. That doesn't include my ebooks.
Are there any dupes in there? Any duplicates?
There's many. My kids actually, when I pile it all up and try to organize it, my kids play a game called the matching game. We found matches, Mommy.
That's a life skill, okay? You're helping them.
It's learning for everyone. Yeah, I don't know. There's a term for it. There's a Japanese term for it that, of course, I'm forgetting in the moment here, but there's like people who enjoy the act of obtaining and owning books, and that's me.
Well,
I don't know
you're
what it
working in
is.
the right place.
Fair, or arguably the worst place if we're trying to have healthy lifestyle habits. But I mean, I don't know. I love it, and I just don't. I'm not a super fast reader, but I have a lot. And the problem is they're squirreled places. So Tyler will open a drawer he hasn't opened in a while, and books will come tumbling out, or what he thought was a junk drawer.
It's just a book drawer
that he stores.
It's been
It's now become a book drawer.
Sorry. Good luck finding your
junk. I try
junk.
to hide it so he doesn't. Yeah, they're gone now. You don't need underwear because I need more space.
That was my next question: is where are these located in your house? But the answer is everywhere.
They are everywhere under the bed.
They're keeping my table level. That's what
drawers.
they're for. This is actually my nightstand. Is actually more books.
More books. Yeah. I actually saw Rebecca Witherspoon on Twitter say she's on a book buying ban until she reads 5 books. And I was like, that is actually genius.
Yeah.
For me, I need to read 5 books before I buy any, including ebooks, which I will start tomorrow.
Oh wait, I forgot this question. It's such a good one. What would you bing boom bong?
Oh, I think I could probably, like, my bing boom bong would probably constantly be like employment law, like some
bing,
level
boom,
of
bong,
like.
You can't do that with Alie.
You can't do that, which is funny. That Beautiful Bastard is my all-time favorite book because that's all about office sex, and the whole time I'm like, okay, wait, up against the window, you can't do that.
They can see you.
Yeah. Or he keeps her underwear, like his thing is he kind of like rips off her underwear when they do it in like the stairwell and stuff. And then he keeps it, but they're in his drawer at work. And
but I'm like, have a cleaning service.
People for that. You can't do that. So I don't know. It's a weird, twisted thing.
We just talked about it. It's the fantasy, right? It's a complete escape from reality, and not in a bad way, just in a, need to take a break.
Just like totally.
I can support this relationship, even though he should be fired by now.
Thank you. I'm not his HR person, so it's all fine.
Well, Alie, this has just been a delight.
This is wonderful. This is my lady love for the week, my friend.
I love you so much, and thank you for being on this with me.
Thank you for having me.
keep being a badass and love yourself as much as you love heaving bosoms.
Yay! Thank you. I love you.
Hey, you. Yes, listener, you. Are you loving the show? If so, please leave a rating and review in your podcast app. The 90 seconds you take to say something nice not only helps new people find the show, but it makes me super smile over at HBHQ. Also, I've had a few people ask, and the answer is yes. We are still doing the 5-star bribe. If you leave us a review with 5 stars, then we'll do whatever book you want. We're real deep into the list, though, so it might be a while. Lilas! Okay, back to the show.